Hey guys, it's Brian. Welcome to the Awards Contender. It is time for my ranking of everything I saw at the 2025 Toronto Film Festival. I saw 21 movies during my stay there. I was there about a week. I saw some wonderful films, a masterpiece, some incredible movies. I saw some good stuff, some okay stuff, one really bad film, which I'll talk about here at the beginning. So I'll start with number 21 and work my way up to the number one choice. Let's begin with number 21, The Christophers. I am sorry to report the latest film from Steven Soderbergh is a total slog. Ian McKellen, of course, is the best thing about it. It's a lot of him all the time, and he does what he can with a pretty flimsy screenplay. But this story of an aging artist doesn't really go anywhere interesting or unexpected. I found the chemistry between the main two characters kind of lacking. And there was a point about an hour in where I was like, I'm ready to go. Like, I'm ready to get up out of my seat and walk out of the theater. This movie is giving me nothing. And it's a bummer because Steven Soderbergh, of course, is a great director, right? I mean, just earlier this year, he gave us Presence, he gave us Black Bag. Those are two good films. The Christophers is not very good. And I've been surprised in the days since to see some people really liking and loving this movie. I'm like, wow, okay, good on you, enjoy. But it was not for me at all. It's a chamber piece, very flat on a visual level. It's very dull almost all the way through. It's got one big laugh near the end. One moment that raises the score from a 2 to a 3 for me. But that's about it when it comes to the Christophers. Number 20, Ballad of a Small Player. This was a huge disappointment. Oh my god. I mean, I was kind of prepared for it because I had heard not so great things out of Telluride. You know, some people were saying it's not very good. So I wasn't prepared to see a great film. I thought it could still be good. Director Edward Berger, you have Colin Farrell and Tilda Swinton. Whenever Tilda Swinton is in the movie, it's pretty good. Like, it's kind of entertaining. But pretty much from the beginning, Ballad of a Small Player just sits there on the screen. It doesn't go anywhere interesting. I did not really care for the main character played by Colin Farrell. Like, you know, he gets kind of crazed at times. There's a scene where he's just eating everything in sight. And, like, it has moments that capture your attention, especially on a visual level. Like, cinematography-wise, this movie looks great. But on a story level, it is not successful, I am sad to report. Like, this is not going to be an awards film like Edward Berger's All Quiet on the Western Front and Conclave were in the previous few years. Ballad of a Small Player, like, maybe, I guess, could show up in a technical category, but that's going to be it. It's really not very good. I was very sad in the second half, just sludging my way through the film. Like, it's just the look of it. Like, the sense of place, the cinematography, I liked. And Tilda Swinton, she's only in it for like maybe 10 to 15 minutes of it. It's a very brief performance. Like, it's a pretty nutty performance from Swinton. It feels like she's walked in from a Wes Anderson movie in terms of her look and her hair and stuff. Like, she seems like she forgot she wasn't in a Wes Anderson film for this one, but it works enough, I guess. She's like the most interesting thing about the movie. Colin Farrell is trying, he is giving his all, but just the screenplay lets him down, I am sorry to say. Number 19 is The Smashing Machine. This was the giant disappointment, because reviews out of Venice were pretty good. You know, I knew going into Ballad of a Small Player, there was like a strong possibility I wasn't going to like it. I thought I was going to like or love The Smashing Machine. And after like the opening 30 to 40 minutes, which worked fine enough, you know, like the setup to the story I thought was pretty good, it just lost me after a while. And I think the second half of the film needed to be more entertaining, more surprising, more insightful, something. And it definitely needed a better ending. The ending to this movie is a giant womp womp. I walked out of the theater feeling nothing about the story, about the characters. And I'm like, this is a sports drama based on a real life story. It should make me feel something, and it did not. And the relationship story between Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt's characters, like, it's just kind of undercooked. It's not very interesting. And at this moment, I don't think it's going to be an Oscars film. I think it could get into makeup. I think Johnson and Blunt might be nominated 1 or 2 places. I just think the film itself is not strong enough to warrant them getting in at the Oscars at the end of the day. That's what I'm feeling right now. You can get more of my thoughts about The Smashing Machine. I created a full individual review of that one, so check that out on YouTube. But yeah, it is shocking to me, guys, shocking to me that The Smashing Machine in this ranking video is listed as low as it is. Number 18, Hedda. Here's another disappointment. This is something I really wanted to love with my full heart. I adore Tessa Thompson, the director Nia DaCosta. She's very talented. You have Nina Hoss in this from Tar, and she is a standout in this cast. Holy cow. When she bursts into the movie about halfway through, it does get a little bit more life. I think Nina Hoss is like the MVP of this one. And Tessa Thompson is doing good work. I liked her performance, but the screenplay just doesn't give her a whole lot to do in this narrative. Outside of a few key moments like the ending, the very last scene of Hedda is great. I still think about that ending a lot. But there's lots of moments of her just kind of walking around this big house, this mansion, and talking to people. But lots of the movie is very dialogue heavy, and it only works in fits and starts. I was pretty bored, to be honest, in the first hour. I kind of slunk down in my seat at the hour mark, just shaking my head. I was like, no, this movie is not working for me. It's not grabbing my attention. You know, the performances are solid, like it's put together well, but it's just not coming to life in the way I was hoping for. Now, there have been positive reviews of Hedda. I've seen a lot of raves for this movie. Some people really like it. So this is not to say it's a bad film that you shouldn't see Hedda. I think it's dropping on Prime Video at the end of October. I think it's still like worth a watch if you like the actors in it, the director. You know, it's not terrible. I just thought it was kind of dull. I'm not a huge fan of the Hedda story. I watched the 1975 version recently, and that was also very boring to me. So I don't know. There's something about Hedda that I don't like fully connect with. And I love me a movie with a great female leading role, like a great female star. But I guess it doesn't matter if it's Glenda Jackson or Tessa Thompson. This story just, it doesn't quite work for me. Number 17 is The Coral, starring Ray Fiennes. This is like a very like prestige British period drama, you know, that's pretty stuffy at times. Was another one I was struggling with for about an hour. It's beautiful to look at, like on a production design level, the cinematography of the film, like it's well produced, well shot. In that respect, Ray Fiennes is okay in it. Like, he's not very memorable. He doesn't have a scene or two where he really pops off the screen. This is one of his, you know, more subdued performances in recent years, especially for a lead performance from him. The Coral does find its footing a little bit in the second half. This is a rare movie, I saw at TIFF at least, where I found myself more engaged in the narrative as it went along. It's not like it started strong like The Smashing Machine and then fell apart later on. This one gets better, I think. And like the last half hour, with all of the musical elements of the story, I liked it a little bit more. I didn't love this one, but you know, it does what it needs to do. I do think there's an audience for The Coral who will really appreciate it. Some of the supporting performances in the film are pretty good. The men in this movie, like the younger guys in this, you know, I'm not gonna lie, they're nice to look at in The Coral. You know, that was one thing getting me through all the way to the end. But the screenplay is very unfocused at times. Like, we'll bounce around to different characters, even toward the end. And I'm like, okay, why did we spend like 5 minutes with that character in this scene? And like, we don't even see that person again, really. So the screenplay is just so-so. Ray Fiennes is fine. He's fine. This was like the most middle-of-the-road movie I watched in my entire week at TIFF, you know? I didn't dislike it. I didn't really like it that much. It's right there in the middle. Number 16 is Christie, which I very much liked while I was watching it. You know, I saw it a day or two after The Smashing Machine. And, you know, they're not that similar to each other, but they are sports films. And she plays a boxer. And she gives a very good performance in this. It's probably the best performance I've seen from Sydney Sweeney. And I've liked her in things. She does disappear, especially like in the first hour. It doesn't look like her very much. It doesn't really sound like her. So I thought she gave a pretty solid performance in this. There is like a TV movie element to it, especially in the way it's shot. Like there's nothing really exciting about Christy visually, you know? Like it goes to some places in the second half that were unexpected. I didn't know the real life story of this person. So like what she goes through in certain moments, I was like, whoa, my God. You know, and aspects of her relationship with a man played by Ben Foster, who's pretty good in this. It goes to some dark places if you're not familiar with the story. Like, I'm like, wow, okay. So I like the film. Like, it plays out really well. It's never dull. The boxing scenes have power. Like, it's shot well. It's edited well. There's something that didn't make this the most memorable watch for me at TIFF. You know, it's an entertaining movie. I would recommend you watch it if it's like streaming at home. Like if you just put it on, you will have a good time in Christie. I think the performances are solid, and it's got some beats in the narrative that did surprise me along the way. And again, Sydney Sweeney is doing very good work in it. You know, some people were suggesting she can get into Best Actress at the Oscars. I don't think she's quite that good. Like, I wouldn't say it's like an Oscar-worthy performance. I do think some of the familiar elements of the movie, of the story, like, will hold her back ultimately. I don't see this being an Oscars player. But it's a good movie. I enjoyed it while it played out, and I do recommend it. Number 15 is Nouvelle Vague from director Richard Linklater, all about the making of Breathless, which came out in 1960. The film takes place mostly in 1959. It's in black and white, and it's shot as a film that looks like it would have been made in 1959. And I loved that about Nouvelle Vague. I really enjoyed this one. It's a love letter to film and filmmaking from one of the greats, Richard Linklater. I was so happy to get to see this one. I did not get to see his other new movie this year, Blue Moon, which hopefully soon I can check that one out with Ethan Hawke. I've heard really good things about that. I tried to get a ticket and it never happened. But I did get to see Nouvelle Vague, and Linklater was there. He introduced the film and did a Q&A after. And I think if you love cinema history, you're really going to vibe with this one. It's not a perfect film. I do think the movie loses its spark a little bit in the second half when it's like, okay, day 3 of filming Breathless, day 4, day 5, day 6. And I mean, I'm not going to expect much of a plot in a Richard Linklater movie, right? But that element did get repetitive here and there. I was like, okay, this could move along a little bit faster. But the performances are really great and spot on. Some of the casting in this movie, like the person who plays Francois Truffaut, it's like you're looking at the real guy. It's pretty amazing. And I just love the look of this one, the black and white look that makes it appear like it was made in the 1950s. They did a really good job with that. I think it's going to Netflix in the next few weeks. So if you don't get a chance to see it in a theater, it will be on Netflix, and check it out. Number 14 is Rental Family, starring Brendan Fraser. Going into the festival, this looked to be, on paper at least, like potentially one of the big awards contenders of the year. It seemed like the kind of movie, like based on the trailer that came out, that could win the People's Choice Award, like be the big world premiere at TIFF, that wins the People's Choice Award, goes on to be like the feel-good movie everybody really likes, that gets into the Oscars and picture and actor and screenplay and stuff. You know, that's what many of us were thinking throughout the summer, and then we all saw the movie. And here's the deal, Rental Family is very good. I very much enjoyed it as it played out. Brendan Fraser gives an appealing performance. I really enjoyed him in this. You know, the story has some really nice beats. Toward the end, there's a scene that made me tear up, and the performances from the entire ensemble are great. It's got a nice sense of place. There's just something kind of surface level about the whole endeavor, and it's forgettable. I have to be honest. Like, I enjoyed it while it played out, and then like 2 days later, I wasn't even thinking about Rental Family. I was on to better movies. There's nothing particularly lackluster about Rental Family. It's good. It's decent. it doesn't ever transcend into greatness, unfortunately. I don't think it's going to be an Oscars player. I don't think it's 100% dead, but I do think it needed to place in the TIFF People's Choice Award. Like, it didn't need to win, but it had to get into place 1, 2, or 3, and it didn't. And that's not a good sign for its future. I think, like, if there's, not the best aspect of the film, it is the screenplay. It's a bit unfocused at times. Like, in the second half, it goes into a couple different directions, and I was like, okay, movie, like, kind of pull it back. Brendan Fraser is rock solid in this movie. Again, he's very appealing. It's nice to spend a movie with him. He's just a really good actor in that sense. But I don't think it's an Oscar-worthy performance. I don't think he gets into Best Actor right now. Maybe at the Globes, like maybe somewhere. I just don't think he'll make it all the way to the Oscars. And so, yeah, I still recommend it. It's a Searchlight film. It comes out in November. It goes down real easy. It's funny. It's emotional. It's a good movie. It's just not a great one. Number 13 is Poetic License, the feature film debut from Maude Apatow, the daughter of Judd Apatow and Leslie Mann. I was not planning to see this movie, to be honest. I was supposed to see something else, and the line was so frickin' long. The movie was starting in like 9 minutes. I said, there's no way I make it into the building, like before the movie starts. So I decided to change course. I looked at the press and industry screenings over the next hour. I was like, is there anything else like I'd rather see here? And Poetic License was on the schedule. I had seen the still, and it's got Andrew Barth Feldman and Cooper Hoffman and Leslie Mann, and it's an academia movie. I love me a movie about like teachers and college and academia and stuff. So I thought, I'll give this one a chance. Like, I'm not sure if it had premiered yet. I think I might have looked on Letterboxd and saw some good notices. And I said, okay, I'll give this one a shot. And so I saw Poetic License, and it starts fine. I was like kind of into it for about a half an hour. And then this narrative really takes off in a way I was not expecting, and I very much enjoyed Poetic License. Like, it got me really involved toward the end. I think Leslie Mann is frickin' fantastic in this film. It's maybe the best performance I've ever seen from her. So, thank her daughter for giving her like the role of a lifetime. She gets to go to places in this movie I haven't really seen her do in other films, so that was great. And then Feldman and Hoffman make a dynamic duo in this movie. They're very funny together. They've got lots of scenes where they're bickering, arguing, laughing. They really create a friendship in this movie I found to be authentic and real and just really wonderful throughout. Kind of like with some of the movies I've talked about so far in this ranking video, there is like a forgettable aspect to the movie. Like, I can't say I've been thinking about it too much since I saw it a couple weeks ago. But like, as it goes down, it's very entertaining, and it's got some really funny moments. I laughed out loud at some things. It's got some emotional beats toward the end I thought worked pretty well. This is a pretty solid feature film debut from director Maude Apatow. I'm curious to see what she does next. Number 12 is Frankenstein. Kind of near the middle of this ranking, we have Frankenstein, which, if you've seen my review on YouTube, I did have some issues with. I thought the first hour was very slow. It takes a while to find its footing, to get going. Oscar Isaac was a little miscast in this. I didn't think he was all that great. Speaking of miscast, also Mia Goth and Christoph Waltz, like, they don't have a whole lot to work with in the narrative. But I also thought like they could have been played by different actors. So even though I was loving the cinematography and production design and so many things like technically with Frankenstein, you can see Guillermo del Toro's passion for this subject and everything. There was something kind of holding me back for a while. But then Jacob Elordi comes into the movie, and oh my god, he's so good. I loved everything about his performance. I think he's worthy of an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor. And after Frankenstein placed in second for the People's Choice Award at TIFF, I went, oh, okay, people are really liking and loving it. Maybe it can get into Best Picture. I mean, Frankenstein is absolutely coming for at least 3 or 4 technical Oscar nominations. If it can get into Picture, then I do think Jacob Elordi has a shot for Best Supporting Actor. He is by far the standout in the cast, and he gets a lot to do in the second half. Like, the second half of Frankenstein is great. I wish the whole movie had been like that. I'm a huge Del Toro fan, and I wanted to love this film with my full heart. but is it at the level of a Pan's Labyrinth or The Shape of Water? No, it's not in that league. I would put it a notch or two down, but it's still very much worth seeing. If you can see it in a theater, go out and do it. So yeah, I didn't love the film. I gave it a 7 out of 10. I liked it overall. It's got some flaws. Some pretty deep flaws, especially in the first 40 to 50 minutes. But come on, it's Del Toro doing his thing, like telling a story he obviously has a lot of passion for. And often you can see that, especially in like the visual representation of what he's doing with Frankenstein. So it's still very much worth your time. I liked it, didn't love it, but watch it anyway. Number 11 is Bad Apples, starring Saoirse Ronan. This is a fierce dark comedy through and through. Very funny, very twisted and unexpected. Like the screenplay to Bad Apples is a joy to behold. I couldn't fully love the movie because there are two plot elements, which I won't give away here, I just did not buy, As a former teacher myself, there's a couple moments in this where I was like, there's no way. I was like, there's no way in hell that would happen, that these people would respond in this way, that they would choose like this decision over that decision. I was just like, I was scratching my head in the theater. I was like, this is interesting and engaging, but not very believable. So there was a believability aspect to Bad Apples I struggled with at times. But just as a work of entertainment, it's quite great. Saoirse Ronan is once again her brilliant self as an elementary school teacher who's got a problem kid. Something this movie gets very right that is very believable is how one bad apple of a student can completely disrupt a classroom. I went through that for many years. You would have a student who would be absent one day and the class would go smoothly. Everything would be nice and easy and I'd be like, what was different about today? Oh, so-and-so was not here. So that element of Bad Apples is done exactly right. And Saoirse Ronan is, fantastic. And there is like an edge to the material, like where it goes on a narrative level, I very much appreciated. I was close to giving this an 8 out of 10. Because of the believability factor in a couple moments, I couldn't give myself over to it to that extent. But if you get a chance to see Bad Apples, and especially if you're a Saoirse Ronan fan, like this is well worth your time. It's a lot of fun. Number 10 is John Candy, I Like Me, the new documentary from director Colin Hanks all about the life and career of the great John Candy, who died way too soon in his early 40s in 1994. He's actually the very first celebrity I remember as a kid learning died and being sad about. Like, I knew John Candy like in the early 90s in films like Nothing But Trouble and Cool Runnings. And then he passed away in early 94 and I was 9 years old. And I remember my neighbor told me, John Candy died. He died of a heart attack. And I was like, oh, that's really sad. I really liked him. So that was the first instant where I connected emotionally with the death of a celebrity, of an actor. And I still think about him to this day. My favorite comedy of all time is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with Steve Martin and John Candy. I think that's Candy's finest hour, and this documentary really highlights everything that was great about John Candy, not just about his career, which we do get nuggets of footage I have never seen before, like especially his early work like in the 70s and stuff. This film showcases moments of his career I thought were really lovely that I like outside of this documentary I probably never would have seen, but it also goes into his home life with his family. The movie has interviews not just with actors and people like he worked with on sets and stuff. It also has interviews with his family. They share stories about his life and what he was like as a dad and a husband. And like, if you love John Candy, if you miss him, this is the movie for you. It made me cry at the end. It's very emotional at times. You really get a sense of, a great life cut short, like the potential he had to go on to really amazing things in the world of film and television, like with his family. It's just such a shame that he was taken from us at that early age. And this movie does the man justice. Boy, does it. I very much enjoyed John Candy, I Like Me. Number 9 is The Lost Bus, which might have been the biggest surprise at TIFF. I don't know why. I just went in thinking, oh, this will be okay. This will be fine. Paul Greengrass directed it, and he's amazing, right? He made United 93, the second two Bourne films, he made Captain Phillips, but because it was going direct to Apple TV Plus, like in early October, that gave me the sense of like, oh, this might just be okay. And the movie is flawed. Anytime we have like the human story of it, like when we learn backstory about Matthew McConaughey's character and his relationship to his son and some of the phone calls he takes when he's a bus driver, some of those scenes are a little cloying, a little obvious. Like not all of that works very well. But like the main narrative of this film, like what he is called upon to do, to save a bunch of kids who have nowhere to go as the 2018 Paradise Fire starts to take over and really threaten people's homes and their lives. Once the narrative kicks into high gear and America Ferrera as a teacher goes onto the bus with her students, and Matthew McConaughey's character is driving the bus and trying to save them, get them out of harm's way, all of that material is frickin' amazing. The disaster element of The Lost Bus is depicted so believably on a visual level. Like there are moments in this that took my breath away. I'm sitting in the theater, it looks so real. I'm like, obviously, like none of this is actually happening like on the sets on the day, but it looks like it is. Like you really feel the terror from the actors and in the situations, everything that has to be done to save these kids. This film got my heart racing at many times. It made me tear up at a moment near the end. Like The Lost Bus doesn't have like the finest screenplay of 2025, but as a movie, like it really gets you involved in the second half especially, and you will be with this thing all the way to the end. I was very pleased with the performances by McConaughey and Ferrera. They develop a nice back and forth together in the second half. And just visually, like on a visual effects level, what they were able to accomplish to make this as real for the viewer as possible, I was really taken with this movie. I really thought this would be like, oh, maybe a 6 out of 10. But no, I would give it an 8 out of 10. I like this movie that much. It's not one of the best of the year, but like out of all the films I saw at TIFF, this was the biggest surprise to me. Paul Greengrass, he is a dynamite director and he did a great job with The Lost Bus. Number 8 is Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery, which I made an individual review here for the channel. This was a lot of fun. I mean, if you like the first two movies, there's nothing to dislike about the third one. I actually think it was richer in a way, in its themes, in its visualization of the story. It's a little bit darker than the first two. In his intro, director Rian Johnson said he was inspired on this third installment by the work of Edgar Allan Poe. He wanted to return this to the roots of like a classic ghost story, murder mystery kind of film. And so it's a little bit spookier than the other two. He's got another amazing ensemble in this. The biggest problem with the film, as I talked about in that review, is that not everybody in the cast gets a whole lot to do. Like Josh O'Connor is clearly the standout. He's basically the main character of the story. Someone floated him like getting into Best Supporting Actor the other day. I was like, what? That would be category fraud to the nth degree. That is a lead performance. He is all over Wake Up Dead Man. I really like Josh Brolin. He's very funny in the film. Glenn Close has one incredible scene. I don't know if it's enough to get her into like the Oscars and stuff, but if you're a Glenn Close fan, she does get her moment in the film, and it is quite good. But then you have like Andrew Scott and Kaylee Spaney and Kerry Washington, and they get very little to do in this. Like, they might have like 5 minutes of substance of some kind, but mostly some of these cast members are just sitting in rooms and reacting to things other people are saying. That's the biggest flaw of Wake Up Dead Man if I had to pick one. But as a work of entertainment, it's pretty freaking great. I thought it was just like a touch better than the other two. And I really liked the other two. It was the visual component of Wake Up Dead Man I really responded to. I thought Rian Johnson upped his game there a little bit, and I just had a wonderful time. It was really cool to see this at the world premiere at TIFF. The entire cast came out on stage, and it was quite a thrill. Like, to be that close to Glenn Close, right? I was very close to Close at that premiere, so that was cool. And just the movie itself, it's really fun. Anyone who likes the first two is going to like or love the third one. So yeah, I very much enjoyed Wake Up Dead Man. It wasn't one of the very best films I saw at TIFF. You know, I was surprised to see it place in the People's Choice Award for that third place slot. I was like, okay, you know, I'm not the only one who liked it. Pretty much everyone really likes or loves it. It's quite fun. So whether you get to see it in a theater, if you're one of the lucky ones who gets to see this in a theater in November, or if you're waiting till December for streaming on Netflix, like whenever you check it out, you are going to enjoy the hell out of Wake Up Dead Man. Number 7 is Wasteman, which is the last movie I saw at TIFF before I departed. I had just a few hours, my final morning. I had time for one more movie. And there were probably 5 or 6 titles I was considering, and I went on Letterboxd, I looked up everything. I was like, I want to end on a good note. I don't want to leave here having seen like the worst movie of the week. And Wasteman was a film I had my eye on for many days. David Johnson and Tom Blythe, 2 actors I very much adore. They're doing really good work, you know, the last few years. So to see them together in a film, that it's a prison drama, I am all for a good prison drama movie. I love those. So I gave this one a chance, and it was phenomenal. I really loved this. David Johnson is doing some remarkable work, and this is one of his best performances so far. He's a father of a teenager, and he's very close to getting out of prison, but he's not sure if it's going to happen. He gets a new cellmate, played by Blythe, who is just like a force of nature, right? He just gets into trouble on day one and on, and is making his life a living hell. And so it's kind of about the relationship and the day-to-day of the prison system, and what it's like to share a cell with someone you don't really get along with. The screenplay is filled with lots of startling, unexpected moments, all the way to its very satisfying ending. It's not like the most original film ever made, but I was very much engaged in this one. I love the 2 performances, and it's one of the few films I saw at TIFF that was actually brief. This thing is about 90 minutes with credits. You are in and out, and I kind of like that. A lot of the films I saw at TIFF were 2.5 hours, and they would just go on and on and on and on. And to see a brief movie during that week was kind of nice, you know? It didn't need to be 2 hours. Wasteman was a story that needed 90 minutes to be told, and we were in and out, and I had the greatest time. Number 6, It Was Just an Accident, the Palme d'Or winner at Cannes. My last full day at TIFF, I got a chance to see it at a screening. The director introduced it, and then I sat down in my seats. I knew I was in for something special. This is not an easy watch, you know? There are times in this, it's so tense. There's a very long take of someone in pain, in agony, screaming in the third act of this movie. I mean, I almost had to look away from the screen. It was almost too much. But It Was Just an Accident is made at such a high level of craft. From the director, the cinematographer, the cast is extraordinary, very believable performances, very, very good work from everybody involved in this. And the story goes to places you don't expect. I hadn't read too much about this movie going in. I just knew a lot of people loved it, right? Like out of Cannes, that this was one of the special films of 2025, and it did not disappoint. And kind of like Wasteman, it was also shorter than I expected. I didn't look up the running time. I assumed it would be 2 hours plus, but this is only about 1 hour and 40 minutes, and it's just the right length. It leaves you really thinking at the end and reflecting on what happened in the film, all of the motivations, like where certain characters are at the end, if they're going to be okay, what happens next. It's kind of an open ending, and I loved that about it. Will It Was Just an Accident get into like Best Picture, Best Director at the Oscars, other big categories? I think it's possible. I think the film is strong enough to get into more categories than just Best International Feature. I mean, I don't think a performance will be recognized in the acting categories, but like screenplay, director, and picture are absolutely on the cards for this wonderful film. I'm so happy I got a chance to see it before I left. It Was Just an Accident, one of the finest films I saw at TIFF. Number 5 is The Testament of Ann Lee, which is not a perfect film. I thought it got a little too slow and repetitive in like the last act, like the last 30 to 40 minutes. It kind of loses its way a little bit, but for a good chunk of the movie, I was all in, really loving the story, the performances, the musical numbers, like the songs in the film really pop off the screen. Amanda Seyfried gives her best performance to date in The Testament of Anne Lee. She's really great in this. I just saw a trailer of another movie she has in December, like a schlocky thriller that's coming out before the end of the year. I don't know if that helps or hurts her Oscar chances, and I still, as of this recording, am not clear, is The Testament of Anne Lee coming to theaters by December? I actually don't know that right now. If it does, I do think Seyfried can get into Best Actress. She is that good. I mean, it's an emotional and physical tour de force performance from her. It's really quite something, and the cinematography, just absolutely breathtaking. The Testament of Anne Lee isn't quite at the level of The Brutalist from last year. That film is pretty frickin' extraordinary all the way through. The Testament of Anne Lee is one notch down, I would say. You know, there's some overlap with key people involved with both movies. Brady Corbet, of course, directed The Brutalist, and he co-wrote that screenplay with his life partner Mona Fastvold. In this case, with The Testament of Anne Lee, they co-wrote this screenplay together again, and then Fastvold directed this one. And she did a great job. There's some really wonderful moments visually in this, emotional, even though there are some pacing issues, I think, in the second half that bring the movie down a little bit. I still very much loved many aspects of The Testament of Anne Lee. I very much vibed with this one for most of the running time. If you ever get a chance to see it, especially in a theater, take that opportunity. You will not be disappointed. Number 4 is Tuner. Okay, this one actually is the biggest surprise at TIFF. I didn't expect too much from this. It played a Telluride. I heard some good things. I love Leo Woodall and Dustin Hoffman. They are 2 actors in the film. But going in, I didn't know too much about the story, about the filmmaker. I just kind of took a chance. I got a ticket. It was the middle of the day. There was nothing else playing I really cared to see. So I thought, okay, let me give Tuner a chance. And oh my God, this movie is so freaking entertaining and fun and surprising. It reminded me of many ways of Whiplash from 2014. That's the vibe you get out of Tuner. The confidence of this film's writer-director Daniel Rower, who I think had only made documentaries before this. This is like his first fictional movie. Like, he knocked this out of the park. It is very well shot and edited and acted. The story keeps surprising you all the way to its satisfying end. The last scene of Tuner is so freaking great. You know, just a roar of applause from the audience I saw this with, and well deserved. Dustin Hoffman, in a way, is kind of the weak link, like the one weak link of the film. He doesn't get too much to do in the story, but Leo Woodall in the lead role, he is fantastic. This is a star-making role from an actor who's been doing good work the last few years. I've enjoyed him in things. This is the best he's ever been. He has a lot to do in this narrative. His character has certain aspects to his life that has hindered his success as a musician. And it's just a very deep and complex character that he attacks with everything he has. Leo Woodall is amazing in this. The whole ensemble is really good. And just the narrative, it really moves fast. It moves along at a good clip. It's never dull. Every moment serves a purpose, and you are just always invested in the characters and the story. And so, yeah, it kind of reminded me of Whiplash. It has a little bit of Sound of Metal in there, a little bit of Baby Driver. Like, all of those mixed together create, you know, maybe not the most original film I've ever seen, but very entertaining, very fun. I don't know what's happening with Tuner. I think it was worthy of placing for the People's Choice Award at TIFF. I think it was that good. I'm surprised. I haven't really heard much about it since I left. I think the title might hurt it. It's kind of a blah title. That might be the main problem with the film, like getting it out to audiences and stuff. I don't know. But regardless, Tuner is a must-see film. I am telling you right now, if you ever have a chance to see Tuner, you are in for a great time at the movies. I was really surprised, shocked actually, how much I was loving it. I almost gave it a 9 out of 10. Like, I was close. And then I thought about the Dustin Hoffman character storyline, and that is kind of lacking. I went, that element of the screenplay I didn't love so much. So I gave it an 8 ultimately, but it's a very strong 8, more of a 8.5 really. Tuner is amazing. Go check it out. Number 3 is sentimental value. Now with my top 3 here, I get to the 3 like truly standout films I saw at TIFF. There's basically nothing negative for me to say about my top 3 slots here in this ranking video. Starting with sentimental value, just wow. You know, I've been hearing about this film since it premiered at Cannes in May. All throughout the summer, I have been dying to see it. When I heard it was playing at TIFF, I did everything I could to get a ticket, and it finally came through. I got to see it, and I loved this film. I really vibed with it all the way from the beginning. Renate Reinsve's character is so interesting. Like, she's an actress, the daughter of a filmmaker, and the way art informs her life, but you know, not really her relationship with her dad. She wants, for the most part, nothing to do with him. Like, that relationship in the film is fascinating to watch unfold in the narrative. And Stellan Skarsgård, I do think, is coming for the Oscar win in Best Supporting Actor. He is that good. It's the best performance I've ever seen from him. He gets so much to do in this movie. It's not a flashy performance. It's not like he's screaming, you know, to the rafters for the second half of the film. But he does have some emotional beats I thought worked really well. The journey his character takes as an aging filmmaker. He's aging out of the industry. He hasn't made a film in like 15 years. He's trying to get his mojo back, getting a young, popular actress to be in his new film, which in many ways is telling a personal story about his real life, about his parents and stuff. And just everywhere the narrative goes, and especially the second half, I found to be really moving and surprising. The entire ensemble is fantastic. This film is absolutely getting into Best Picture, Best Director, probably Actress and Supporting Actress, maybe 2 nominees in Supporting Actress, we'll see. Stellan Skarsgård is the member of this team I think can win. I just think his character, more than anyone else in the movie, is the best developed, has the best arc from beginning to end, and it's just a wow of a performance from the great Stellan Skarsgård. Holy cow. Number 2 is No Other Choice from Park Chan-wook. This is an extraordinary film through and through. From a directorial standpoint, from a cinematography standpoint, from the acting to the editing to the music, everything about No Other Choice is a delight to behold. You know, if you love movies, you are going to love No Other Choice. This takes you on a wild ride for 2.5 hours and just flies by because you really get invested in the main character's journey, everything he goes through, the good and the bad and the very ugly. It's all really fun to watch. I was surprised by just how funny the movie is. I was laughing out loud all throughout the narrative, but it also has some nice emotional beats at times too. And the entire ensemble cast is excellent. Some of the shots in the film completely took my breath away. I was just like, wow, you did not need to go that hard, Park Chan-wook. Like, you didn't have to, just to show a man drinking alcohol, you know? Every single scene has been constructed so meticulously. I just loved every minute of this thing. I really hope it's going to be an Oscars player. Park Chan-wook has never received an Oscar nomination, which is insane to me. I assumed he had at some point, and it's never happened. It has to happen for No Other Choice. I think this film deserves 100% Oscar nominations for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, and Best Actor for Lee Byung-hun in the lead role. He is amazing in this. It's one of the best performances I have seen all year. You know, I am going to be championing that performance from now until award season. I think he deserves to be nominated for this movie. And finally, my number 1 choice, my favorite film I saw at the 2025 Toronto Film Festival is, of course, Hamnet, from writer-director Chloe Zhao, starring Jessie Buckley and Paul Mescal. This was my 10 out of 10 of the festival, the masterpiece I saw at TIFF. A film I think is absolutely getting into multiple categories at the 98th Academy Awards. It is such a special work of art. So emotionally devastating. This movie broke me at the end. I mean, I had heard things about people crying like very loudly in theaters at Telluride and stuff. I knew going in it was going to be sad. I was still not prepared, you guys. You know, there's lots of sad moments throughout the narrative, but the last like 10 to 20 minutes, I was kind of gone. I needed time in the theater lobby to compose myself because I was still crying. And I think about that experience of watching Hamnet at Toronto. It's one of my favorite couple hours I've spent this entire year. I was just so blessed to be in that theater watching this extraordinary film unfold. Chloe Zhao has outdone herself. Paul Mescal does what's maybe his best performance to date. And Jessie Buckley does give the performance of the year. She is coming for her first Oscar win in Best Actress. I think that's pretty well happening. We'll see like how things shake out the next few months. But Best Actress isn't like overly competitive right now in terms of like nominees and stuff. I mean, we're still just like trying to figure out like who gets the 4th slot, who gets the 5th. Jessie Buckley is clearly in the 1st place slot. Renate Reinsve, who's really great in Sentimental Value, her character is absent from that movie for chunks of the narrative. And that's not the case with Jessie Buckley in Hamnet. She is all over that thing, creates a fully developed 3-dimensional character who you can't help but love and feel sympathy for. She is incredible in this movie. Incredible with a capital I. Jessie Buckley has been doing good work for many years. But this is the performance of a lifetime. I loved her in this. I loved Mescal. I loved everything Chloe Zhao did as a writer, as a director, the cinematography, the editing, the sound design work, that ending. Oh my freaking God. The ending of Hamnet. Get ready, everybody. Hamnet is absolutely a contender for the best film of 2025, and it's definitely my favorite film I saw at TIFF.